Well, yeah, like you say, when I was a teenager, I thought it was maybe most difficult because you're so you want to fit in and don't be um, any trouble and so on. So I don't know, it bothered me sometimes that like why do I have to like I haven't chosen this, and I think that's maybe why I didn't tell earlier, because you don't want to be like different and so on. I felt excluded sometimes, and was like often my friends maybe forgot.
Now that you are into a new job, did you have to tell them because you will be eating there, or you will bring your own food for lunch, or how do you do it?
Of course, I if they should have something that I could eat, I would eat.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
So
So
I think I'm gonna tell sooner this time, maybe.
okay, so welcome again to the food interviews that I'm doing, traveling around the world. And today I'm with Emina, that she's a Swedish girl that is originally from a small town at the north called Vilhelmina. And I happened to meet her through a friend that I was actually visiting the Wilderness Road, and I ended up in a waterfall where her friend Bea had a kind of stand to promote the commune and to um, enhance people to come live there. And I started talking with her, and I shared my project, and she put in contact me with Emina, and here we are 2 weeks later, online and connected to know a bit more how is living with celiac disease up north in Sweden and what's your experience, Emina. So please introduce a bit yourself, where you're from, what do you do for living, and so on, and then we will start talking about this.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you for letting me be a part of this. And yeah, my name is Emina. I'm 26 years old and I come from north of Sweden, as you said, but now I've recently moved to south of Sweden to
Mhm.
a small town called Varberg at the coast. And I recently finished my studies as a nurse, so
Mhm.
I will start working as that in a week. So that's really exciting. And besides from that, I like to travel
Mhm.
and be in the nature and eat food, be hang out with friends, and yeah, normal stuff, I think.
But it's curious because you said eat food, but you have some restrictions for the food. Could you tell about this a bit?
Yeah, exactly. So when I was about 7 years old, I found out that I had this um I'm not good at like I when I travel and talk English, I always says that I have gluten allergy, but you say celiac.
Celiac disease, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I found out that I had that when I was 7 years, and by that time I had have symptoms for maybe about a year. Um, but like before I got the diagnosis, and it was shown because I had like pain in my stomach when I was at preschool or daycare. And but when I my mom took me to the doctor to like check it up, um, I the doctor tickled me on my stomach, so I laughed instead of um like
Feeling
I
pain.
couldn't yeah, exactly. So they didn't believe me. They thought that I was like didn't like it at the kindergarten or something. So we went a lot of times to the hospital. Um, but finally they did this test, and then we found out, and I was the first in my family.
Okay.
Now I have two siblings younger than me that also has it. Um, so I think like because I was young, I have um, adjusted to it pretty well. It was most hard for my mom, I think, like in the beginning to adjust the food at home. And by that time, this shops and the stores where we lived wasn't that common like it's now, only I don't know, 10 years later.
Yeah.
So it was hard. I remember my mom was like telling the one who managed the food market to like, can you bring in more gluten free
Product.
stuff?
Okay.
So they did eventually, more and more. And so I think like in Sweden now it's pretty good. Like most of the restaurants has like gluten-free pizzas, and some have pasta dishes and something, always something I can eat. But I have experienced when I have been traveling that it's not that good that it is in Sweden. Some countries are better than others, but I have actually like thought, if because I eventually want to move somewhere else, but I'm like, I'm not sure how to do that with the allergy, or yeah.
Good. So yeah, you opened a lot of topics with this introduction. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm
So
good at talking.
yeah, yeah, and that's perfect because your experience will be helpful for others for sure that are having the same or are facing this situation at your age. So will be very nice.
Yeah.
Let's start from the beginning. When you were diagnosed, all of a sudden you cannot eat everything. So they finally don't see that you don't like the daycare time, but you
Mm-hmm.
have a real problem. And at home, it's kind of on your mom back then, and for sure she managed, especially when your siblings then also had the same problem. But how is it going out as a young person with other friends and so on, and
Mm.
or having I don't know how is it the social life in the north of Sweden, but if you meet at home or if you go to a bar or a restaurant, or how do was it to share it with your friends and also to feel integrated? Because what I've seen in other people that I have interviewed is that they feel kind of excluded or they go out less. How did you manage that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, yeah, like you say, when I was a teenager, I thought it was maybe most difficult because you're so you want to fit in and don't be um any trouble and so on. So actually at that time I cheated a lot and ate gluten anyway.
Okay.
And that I do regret now, but I did maybe for like home I didn't, but when I was with my friends. So um yeah, and then when I was like maybe 18 or something, I started to tell people that I had it. But yeah, I felt excluded sometimes. It was like often my friends maybe forgot, and then I felt like, oh, it's okay, I can eat something else. But yeah, you do feel excluded, and it's I think that's maybe why I didn't tell earlier, because you don't want to be like different and so on. And I was the only one in my friend group who had it. And I I think a lot of people anyway back then didn't know about this that much. Many thought it was like, oh, you can't eat milk, and that stuff. And so
Yeah. Confused,
yeah.
mixing things.
Yeah, exactly. With lactose intolerance, many people hasn't like good knowledge about it, I experience, which
Yeah.
makes it even more discomforting to share it.
Yeah. Because
Um,
something strange or yeah, I mean, you want to fit
yeah.
in and you don't want to invest time on explaining, yeah, because I cannot eat this, that, that. And did you bring your
Mm,
own food or how did you do it if you were going out?
yeah. Most of the times I did do that. Like if I know that I'm gonna meet my friends and we will like have cheese and crackers or something, then I brought my own because I was like, this is the
Mhm.
most easiest. So that worked out. But I also felt like because gluten free is also more expensive than normal food,
A lot.
and so when I studied and like you don't have a lot of money, I could feel also when I did bring my own food and the other ones shared, that felt like also excluding and uh, a bit I don't know, it bothered me sometimes that like why do I have to, like I haven't chosen this and not someone else either, but still like it felt I was what do you say, like not fair.
Yeah, yeah, I understand. And
Mm.
when you started explaining your friends, did they show comprehension or they still forgot or slowly they know now? For example, I mean, it's been now a few years that you are
Mm-hmm.
diagnosed, so for sure they all know now and they take care of it, or how is it?
Yeah, I think it's much better now, especially with like yeah the friends I have had for many years. Like now um it's not often someone forgets, but it still happens. It does, but it's much better. And but of course, like when I've said like, okay, can we share on everything or like, yeah, to make it feel like less that I have to buy my own things and you all share like together.
Yeah,
Like no one has said anything about it. It's just that I have to um remind them sometimes, but
yeah,
they are some of my friends are also like if they miss they really like, oh sorry, I how could I forget, and yeah
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's
they feel embarrassed too, like yeah.
I totally understand you because sometimes when you go organize a meeting and there is like things to eat like a buffet and you can
Mm.
everything or you have to have your things apart to not get contaminated or so on. It's a big struggle, but yeah, it's part of the adventure, I think. And how do you explain them? Do you talk about an allergy? Do you talk about gluten is part of flour, so it's easy also for them to understand? How do you do it?
Yeah, it depends. Like if it's someone I know well, then I explain it more like in detail like this, that it's um actually not an allergy or like more a disease.
Mhm.
Uh, but if I want to make it like easy, if it's someone I don't know so well, or yeah, then I can say it's like an allergy more because it's I find it easier to people to understand, and then I say that it's wheat, like in flour, like you say, and in like not corn, but what do you say? Like this oh, I don't know the word in English. Like we say, not starch. Well, mm, do you know what malt is?
No.
No, okay. Anyway,
Another cereal
well,
or another ingredient, no?
yeah. Yeah, so I guess that like it's, but if I say one thing, then it's definitely wheat, like flour
Yeah.
and
So it's
stuff like
easier for
that.
them to understand, no? And
Yeah, I think so.
now that you are into a new job, did you have to tell them because you will be eating there, or you will bring your own food for lunch, or how do you do it?
Yeah, I will bring my own lunch. So, but I have learned from past work that like it's always someone who wants to buy something, nice to eat at Friday afternoon or something, and mm, it's very common that's like a cake or something
Yeah,
for us.
pastries.
Yeah, so it have been a lot of times where I don't eat, and they are like, "Oh, are you trying to be healthy or something?" Like,
Yeah,
why don't you eat? And then I and tell them like, oh, I can't eat, but it's okay. But then they often be like, oh, why didn't you say something sooner? We could have like bought something else. And so
So
I think I'm gonna tell sooner this time, maybe.
because you still feel embarrassed of sharing this because it's something personal, or how do you feel when you have to explain to new people?
Yeah, I guess a bit, just because I'm also this as a person that I don't want to be like bothering someone or be, you
Yeah,
know, um, yeah. So I guess some, and then I'm like, it's okay. I don't need anything. No, no, no. But of course, if they should have something that I could eat, I would eat.
yeah, of course.
So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
That's a difficult part. So saying no, or not wanting to be the focus of attention, or
yeah,
in a
exactly.
restaurant, like talking too much to the waiter because asking and this and that and that. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
and so let's talk about trips.
yes.
You said that you think that in Sweden it's pretty easy and other countries is not that easy. Which are these countries, and what was your experience and how you managed to survive there? Because at the end you have to eat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, so I have been to most countries in Europe, so like Spain, Italy, Greece, and then outside Europe, I have been to Bali,
Oh,
and yeah, and I actually I think I found it like more easier at Bali because they had more like fruit and stuff like didn't contain
hmm,
like flour in the first place.
yeah.
But Italy, I think, have been the most hardest, and that's
Okay.
I like Italy, so that's yeah, boring, but um so I remember one time me and a friend went out to get a pizza, and I couldn't get the waiter to like understand me when I was trying to ask them if they had any gluten-free pizza. They didn't know the word or anything. So
Italy.
after, huh?
In Italy.
Yes, yes. Yeah. So, but in the end, I managed to get a like actually a gluten-free pizza, but it was like frozen and like
Mm.
not made from there. So it was really boring compared to my friends, so I was a bit jealous.
Yeah, yeah, I
But
totally
yeah,
understand. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but it was something. So, and yeah, I have got used to it, but like still, but um, in many cases, I try to like ask if they have something, but if I feel like they don't understand me, I have just go for like a fish dish
Mm.
or something I know that is gluten free, like meat and
Reels or yeah.
rice, yeah, something like that. And then if I get some bread, I just put it away because I guess I'm lucky because I'm not that like I don't get like sick
Yeah.
if I get a small amount. So I that's makes it easier than for others. What I have understand, it's more like I have pain in my stomach and of course in the on the inside it destroys.
Mm.
But yeah, so that's have been okay
So you don't have
and
symptoms like vomits or diarrhea or things.
no,
Yeah,
no.
that's lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, actually it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm grateful for that anyway. But yeah, and sometimes like in Spain, I remember that I had a lot of like yogurt and stuffs like in the breakfast instead of bread and things at the bakery that my friend went to eat. And like yeah, it's okay, but once again, it feels boring to have to eat
Yeah.
something else.
It's very interesting for me because I mean Greece, it's a bit difficult or quite difficult about gluten free. But
Yeah.
Spain and Italy, I think are the easiest countries in Europe for gluten free.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. But
Hey, have you experienced that?
yeah, yeah. I mean, well, I'm Spanish, so I've
Yeah.
traveled all Spain, and I used to go out often, and I didn't have any problem. And I mean, for work, I used to travel a lot. I mean, really a lot. Every month, I had a trip on Europe or overseas. And I have the feeling that Spain and Italy are one of the easiest countries in Europe. But I mean, I'm not trying to convince because your experience is different than mine, of course. But do you think it's a language barrier? Because Spain and Italy are also well known for not talking good English in general.
Yeah.
So do you
Yeah, but
think
of course, maybe it can be that, like if you say if you do experience that it's not a problem, it feels like that can be maybe the reason that we just haven't like understood each other, and then I
just,
thought like, okay, they don't have it, or maybe like I haven't found it. I have been
yeah, maybe also.
um
Where have you been in Italy or Spain? Do you remember? And when did you
yeah, in Spain I've been to Barcelona and Mallorca.
Okay,
And in Italy, I have been to Rome, Florence, Venice, and Sardinia.
okay. And
Um,
which year was it? Do you remember?
hmm.
Which year was it?
Oh, it's been different years, but all of them like in the past 5 years.
Okay.
No, wait, COVID. Some after
Yeah.
COVID and some just before COVID.
Okay. That no, that's very interesting because I it's it's very interesting that you have a different point of view, and I don't try to say you're wrong at all. It's just different experience, mine than yours, of course. But
Yeah.
I'm surprised that you mentioned these two countries and that in Bali it
Oh,
was easier because
yeah.
yeah. So very interesting. Thank you. Just one question regarding to the trips. Do you, after having had this experience, Europe a bit difficult, Asia easier, do you have a
Mm-hmm.
preference for going to Asia instead of Europe? Have you had stopped traveling around Europe, or you plan better in advance, or you bring your own food, or how do you manage?
Mm, yeah, well, I would say that I think I prefer like Asia, but it
Yeah.
not only because of that reason, but that's one reason, but not only because of that. But I haven't stopped, and I will travel more. I want to travel like all the world, also,
Okay.
and I think I'm not like afraid when I'm going somewhere that I won't get food. I know that I can always eat something. So
Okay.
I've been like getting good at adjusting, and maybe that I'm not going for the food, more for other things in the country.
Yeah.
And I think it's getting better everywhere with
Mhm.
this too. And I also noticed like it's different if you go to the big supermarkets, like also in Spain and countries like that. They often have like some gluten-free things. So the past trips I've done, I have stayed in like a apartment instead of a hotel, so I can buy from there and make like my own food.
Mhm. Okay, that's very
Yeah,
interesting. I like the input that you said that you became good at adjusting and also accepting that food is not the reason why you travel. So there are other reasons like maybe landscapes or architecture or culture or whatever. And
exactly.
let's talk about home. How do you
Yeah,
manage at home with your boyfriend? And sorry that I'm changing the topic, but we have limited time with these online interviews, and I want to cover.
yeah,
So
yeah. I know. It's
please,
okay. Yeah, well, yeah, as you said, my boyfriend hasn't he doesn't have this.
yeah,
Um, he did know a bit about it because he have some relative who has it. So
okay,
I was glad for that.
yeah,
And actually, he has been good at like I don't think he have. has ever forgot it, so I'm glad for that. And like yeah, we buy different pasta
Uh-huh.
and different bread, but other than that, we doesn't like do anything different. He like if we do a sauce or something, we just take it like corn starch. How do you
Yeah,
say it?
start. Yeah.
Yeah, instead of it, and he's okay with that. So
Okay.
actually, it has been working good, and yeah, but I also experienced with different partners that it hasn't been that this easy. So I have both like views on this. Like one boyfriend I had was like this, but your pasta is more expensive than mine, and na, and that was like hard for me too. So we bought like or like paid for our different food as well then.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a sign, I would say. But
Yeah.
enter into
I'm
romantic
like
matters. Yeah.
I yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and following with this person who like felt uncomfortable with the more expensive food that you have to eat.
Mm-mm.
Have you experienced like this lack of empathy with some other friends, or it's just a specific case? Because the empathy is also very important when somebody has an allergy that the others understand, and also it's a way to remember sometimes, no?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, most times I feel like um my close ones like has it. But of course it have been times where I'm feeling that I don't get understood, or
Hmm.
like in like this that that I said like, but you're so expensive and and then I'm like, yeah, that's why it would be nice if we could like share on everything instead.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah, so I would say most times I feel like people has empathy, and
Hmm.
sometimes also like feel sorry for me, and that's not, I don't know if that's good either, but yeah,
Yeah. Ah,
like
it's
oh, I'm so sorry for you who can't eat this. This is so good. And then I'm like, you don't have to tell me that. I don't
yeah.
want to know.
I have a friend, and he does it absolutely unintentionally, yeah. But he is following my trip and so on. Yeah, where are you now? And yeah, I'm in the north of Norway. Oh, in Alta there is a restaurant where you will eat so well. And it's like, yeah, let's see what I can eat. Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I
yeah.
understand. Yeah, it's not easy.
And yeah, okay. I have just received the note that we have few minutes left, so I
Okay.
would like to
Yes.
close. First of all, thank you so much for your oops. Yeah, thank you so much for your time because it just switched windows and I don't know why. Thank you so much for your time and your collaboration. And I usually close the interviews asking the interviewed person for an advice, okay, according
Okay.
to your experience. And here I would like to ask one advice as a local Swedish for people coming from abroad. What's your recommendation, or what's
Yeah.
something that we, as a tourist, we should try to find gluten-free because it's typical and it's very good? And the second advice, I will ask you for three advices because you shared a lot and I think it's interesting. So, for tourists coming from abroad, for somebody of your age, like seeing that all of a sudden he or she cannot eat gluten. So, what would be your advice to manage to not feel excluded or to share? And moving in with a partner.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. And thank you too. I hope this will be some help for someone out there. And okay, one tip for a tourist is to find there's a Swedish girl who makes bread and granola and stuff gluten free.
Mhm.
Like it's a bit more expensive, but it's really good. And it's called Marta. The girl's name is Marta, and the company's name is something with that. I think it's easy to find in like the bigger supermarkets here, like ICA. And
Okay.
so try out that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and then for someone in my age, my advice would be like to know that it's it's a hard adjustment, but it's not that bad, and it's only like I think it's getting better and better, and you can do a lot of things at home too, and it's a lot of like um books and stuff you can buy to bake and make your own food good.
Mhm.
So there's hope and and also to like dare to be honest with friends and family and yourself. It will help you in the long terms.
Okay.
And
That's
yeah,
better.
and then
Moving in with
moving
a
in,
non-serious
yeah,
partner, let's say.
I would also say like for that to be honest about it in like in the beginning. It's always the best, and I think most of the people will like accept it, and if they care for you and are interested in you, they will be like interested in learning more about it themselves and adjust. And if they're not a good person that you should continue to meet, I think,
Perfect.
because
So,
they are you.
yeah, Emina, thank you so much. And now you know. So, if you find yourself in this situation, don't panic. There is a lot of information nowadays. Things are much easier than before. If you are moving in with someone and this person doesn't show sensitivity on this, it's maybe better to keep uh, searching. And by sharing and also being a bit more open on this behalf, you will also help that your closer circle um, understands it better and also show more empathy. Emina, thanks a lot for your time. Thanks for sharing all these inputs that are very valuable. And I wish you all the best down south in Sweden.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yep. Bye bye.
Bye bye.